Good evening. Police are asking for the public's help in identifying a man wanted in a criminal harassment investigation.
The suspect is accused of distributing papers containing sexual and inappropriate messaging to children at Withrow Park. CTV's Beth McDonnell has been following the investigation and joins us live now with more. Beth.
Natalie, Rahim, people in the area are describing the incident as disturbing and terrible, and they're hoping the suspect is identified quickly. Look closely. This is the man Toronto police are searching for, both with officers on the ground around Withrow Park near Logan and Danforth and through a public appeal.
So we're hoping that someone in the community recognizes this person.
Officers say on Thursday, December 18th in the afternoon after school, someone allegedly handed papers to several children in the park with inappropriate and sexual messages, then took off.
It would probably be something that, when they glance at children who glance at it or parents, that it's something that an adult should not be saying to children, especially children they don't know.
Families find the situation unsettling.
Obviously unpleasant and unexpected.
I think it's disgusting. I think it's really sad.
Police say they put out information about the incident on Saturday, December 21st, but haven't been able to identify the man in these images. He's believed to be between 30 and 40 years old and about 6 feet tall. He was seen wearing a black hooded jacket with a gray crossbody bag. Area residents we spoke with are on alert.
Definitely, I think keeping an eye out and keeping updated on the developments.
If I happen to do see someone that matches that description, then I have no problems alerting the police. Yeah, I think it's terrible. It's really distressing. I'm sure it was for the kids as well.
Officers say several children were approached, and from there, the interaction was reported. But it's still not clear exactly how many saw or were handed the papers.
We are concerned that there may be other children that were approached and have not reported yet. So if that's the case, please reach out.
Police say it's important for parents to have conversations with their kids and remind them if they feel uncomfortable or unsafe to tell someone. Mitchell's son, Mateo, is 9 years old.
We talking about since maybe 4 or 5 years ago in the street. If somebody approached to him, he knows he has to ask for help.
Right now, the hope is people can help police identify the man and make sure the neighborhood is safe. Police say there were no pictures on the papers. Anyone with information is asked to contact police or Crime Stoppers. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Rahim, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. A 47-year-old man has been arrested after allegedly lighting someone's jacket on fire at Scarborough Town Centre. Police say the suspect was walking in the mall around 6:30 yesterday morning when the victim left their jacket on a chair. The suspect picked it up and lit it on fire, then walked away. The suspect then tried to light another person's jacket on fire outside one of the mall's entrance. Police were previously searching for the suspect in connection with a similar incident at Kennedy subway station on Sunday morning. 47-year-old Donald McFarlane is facing several charges, including assault with a weapon, arson, and failing to comply with probation.
A new survey finds GTA residents think crime is on the rise, despite data showing that it is actually on the decline. The Liaison Strategies poll finds nearly 3/4 of Toronto residents believe murders are on the rise in this city, even though they are down by more than 50% compared to last year. Residents of Peel Region also believe murders are up, despite a decline of nearly 50% in 2025. More than 70% of GTA residents say they believe auto thefts are getting worse, while data show a more than 25% reduction in thefts in Toronto and a drop of more than 40% in Peel and York Region. Still to come tonight, the mayor takes a look back at 2025. Olivia Chow sits down with CTV News to talk taxes, city services, and whether she will run again. That's a little later in the newscast.
But first, there was a major cleanup effort today following flooding in Mississauga.
Traffic was snarled near Hurontario and Dundas this morning after a vehicle smashed into a fire hydrant. CTV's Janice Golding has been following the cleanup effort and joins us live with the latest. Janice.
Hi, Natalie. Yes, a miserable way to start the day here in Mississauga, with works crews busy trying to deal with gushing ice-cold water, which was very difficult to get under control. This is the scene at Hurontario and Dundas this morning. Instead of streets, the roadways looked like running rivers, with people sliding their way to work.
The whole area is full of water, so I'm totally wet and soaked.
Commuters carefully minced their way across the street, hoping not to fall. Unfortunately, they were sloshing through several inches of water with a layer of ice underneath.
This is a mess, man.
It's really difficult and hassle, like, to walk here because, like, everything's closed.
The region of Peel originally thought there was a water main break, but then the water operations team determined someone had driven into a hydrant sometime before 6 a.m., knocking it over. In order to isolate the hydrant, they shut down the water main around 9:30, meaning businesses in 25 plazas and complexes were without power.
Our coffee machine basically runs on the water. With no water, we had no customers this morning, so we had to shut down the cafe.
It's been really irritating because we are not getting any more customers at the moment and we are unable to open the business.
Businesses were impacted and so were their customers. This woman was at the dentist when the water went off, for example.
You know what happened? They were fixing my teeth and all of a sudden the water just ran out. And I was like, what's happening? They should have told us, like...
They turned off the water while they were fixing your teeth, so how did that impact you?
It wasted my time because I had to wait for the water to come back.
Others had to cancel or rearrange their plans.
We're supposed to have blood works here, but we have to find another clinic and cross.
I work in a restaurant, but I gotta get some money, but now I can't make it. Too much water.
7 hours after the whole ordeal began, however, the water was restored, with businesses, road traffic, and daily life resuming as normal. And as you can see, traffic is back to normal here on Hurontario, and many of the businesses were able to reopen without issue, although some did throw in the towel and closed up shop for the day a little early. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Natalie.
Okay, thank you, Janice. Well, after an extended search that went well past the original June deadline, the city has finally hired its traffic czar. Andrew Poslins has been named Toronto's Chief Congestion Officer and the Executive Director of its Strategic Capital Coordination Office. The city says Poslins will oversee, review and present the city's congestion management plan to the Infrastructure and Environment Committee in April. He will also lead the development and implementation of the transportation plan for the FIFA World Cup in 2026. Poslins will take on the new role January 5th.
A Etobicoke food bank hosted a special event today aimed at ensuring people in need don't begin the new year hungry.
The need is growing, and jobs are not there, housing is not there, people are starving. And we are very thankful to our co-founder, Mrs. Shubhra Mukherjee, when she thought of in 2018 to do this, and it has grown multi-fold. And what is happening, it is going to be, we're anticipating it's going to be more bad in 2026.
This is my second year with Saitham, and I think they are doing an amazing job. As good it is to see that so many people have turned up, it's that sad because every year we see more people coming and depending on the food banks.
The Saitham Food Bank's annual Family to Families free food market was open until 3 p.m. The food bank says its goal was to provide food for 5,000 people today.
Amid these frigid temperatures, the city has opened its 5 warming centers. The sites are activated when the temperature is forecast to reach -5 degrees or below, or when a winter weather event warning is issued. The centers are located at 81 Elizabeth Street, 885 Scarborough Golf Club Road, 136 Spadina, 349 George Street, and 12 Holmes Avenue. The facilities provide resting spaces, meals, access to washrooms, and referrals to emergency shelter.
We'll have more news in a moment, but first, here is a live look at the city tonight. It is cold, it's windy, and watches and warnings remain. Let's bring in Jessica Smith. Jess, you know, the daytime sun, that was a nice surprise earlier today, but now you can really feel that wind chill.
You really can, and we're in that kind of sweet spot where we are around the seasonal mark, but you factor in that wind, and oh my goodness, it is chilly out there. You have to really dress accordingly if you work outside or you're planning on spending time outdoors, going skiing or skating or any of those wonderful winter activities. Still dealing with lots of lake effect snow, heavier through Goderich, London, Kitchener, Hamilton. We are going to see some here in the GTA through the downtown proper as we head into the early part of our evening. But again, snow squalls are those bursts of heavy snow. They are short-lived, but they can be quite intense. We're still under a snow squall watch here in the GTA. Heavier snow again for friends through Goderich, 20 to 40 centimeters. Barrie, an area there, they're looking at maybe 10 to 20 additional. As we go temperature-wise, again, it is fresh as we head through our evening, and we're holding on to that chill overnight tonight and into the day tomorrow. Through the islands, through Pearson, between -4 and -6. Tonight, holding on at -6, so we're pretty close to that seasonal point. More on your full forecast in a moment. Right now, it's back to Raheem and Natalie.
Thanks, Jess.
Thanks.
As 2025 draws to a close, so too does another year of policy and politics at Toronto City Hall, where the mayor was working to implement her progressive vision for the city.
Olivia Chow making moves to the way services are delivered in this city. The question from critics was at what cost? I sat down with the mayor to look back on the year that was and ask what comes next in the election year ahead.
This is a study, this is a circle.
In a place that the mayor describes as one of the most welcoming spots in the city.
Welcome to Toronto.
Olivia Chow professes her love for the library.
It's so great for a family, for everyone.
Toronto's 100 branches now open on Sundays. Expanded access Chow touts as part of her biggest success in 2025.
Making life more affordable by all the places that are free.
You got it. Saving families money, she maintains through student nutrition programs and 3 straight years of a TTC fare freeze.
Well, that's more money in your pocket. Things are tight for some folks.
But the question of where the money comes from dominated discussion at City Hall in 2025. The year began with a 6.9% tax hike on the heels of a 9.5% increase, the largest since amalgamation. Chow says next year's number won't be so sky high.
We want to make sure that that the service still remain affordable for folks, and which is why we will be bringing a tax rate that is lower.
Will it be in line with the rate of inflation or higher? Do you have a sense?
It depends on what it is. We are still in the final piece of working it.
How mindful are you of the fact that it is an election year and people who feel like they've paid a lot of taxes in the last couple of years, will be looking very closely at what this year's number might be?
Well, of course, which is why I've asked the wealthiest 2% of luxury property buyers to pay a bit more.
Council this month approved that increase to the land transfer tax on multi-million-dollar homes for a revenue boost of about $14 million. The overall operating shortfall, though, much more than that, at about $1 billion. Better than where it stood post-COVID-19. TTC ridership, meanwhile, still has not fully bounced back, despite moves to restore service to pre-pandemic levels.
People feel safe enough. Some do, most do, but there are some that are not.
As part of a pilot project introduced this year, crisis workers have been deployed in the downtown U of Line 1.
Number-wise, it's a lot safer, but the feeling, okay? We just need to get the riders to feel better.
The city also offering outreach and assistance to the people living in the encampments that have proliferated across Toronto. Amid a housing crisis, Chow City Hall has embraced a public builder model for new homes and pledged to open up to 20 new shelters by 2033. The 6 already approved, though, were the subject of pushback and protest by neighbors this year.
I understand the fear. If they operated well, don't worry, go and look at other ones.
The administration also under fire this year for fumbled files. High-profile incidents of pools closed in the summertime, streets and sidewalks impassable for weeks in the winter.
Huge challenges because of climate crisis. As a result, we have not done as well as we could have.
The mayor blaming bad contracts signed under the previous administration, promising better snow service in 2026.
A lot of things that haven't been working well in the past, we're just there fixing it, making it better. Snow removal is one of them.
So you think city services on the whole are better now than when you took office?
Yes, it is.
Some of those municipal files were this year overtaken by the province. Premier Doug Ford overruling the city on bike lanes and speed cameras, among others.
I didn't win that. Too bad. I'm frustrated, but moving on. There are other things we can do together.
Chow touting accelerated construction on the Gardner as one example of partnership with the province and securing the funding for new Line 2 TTC subway cars in a deal delivered with Ottawa.
I'm trying to build good working relationship with both the provincial and the federal government. There's so much we can do better.
But with 10 months left in her term, Chow is not yet confirming whether she will run again.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. It's I'm having a great time. really enjoying being able to make a difference and really enjoy connecting with different communities and say, hey, you belong.
A mission that she is pledging to carry into the year ahead.
Continue on the track to make life more affordable for folks and working with the chief and a lot of social services to help young people to keep our city safe. Holiday hours.
A city Chow has now helmed for 2.5 years that she says has become a more caring place.
Library is a great place to be, huh?
Turning the page on 2025, heading in to the next chapter.
2025 saw a comeback of sorts for Ontario's Liberal Party with more seats and a return to party status in February's provincial election.
However, CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris explains the party remains without a leader and a clear direction heading into the new year.
After races in 2020 and again in 2023, Ontario's Liberal Party is in search of a leader, their third since Doug Ford became premier in 2018. The winter election, a story of wins and losses for the Liberals. They picked up 14 seats, enough to regain party status.
We increased our share of the votes substantially to 30%.
But Bonnie Crombie defeated in a Mississauga riding, the city where she'd been mayor for 9 years. In September, only 57% of party delegates expressed support in her leadership.
It's not the number I wanted.
Planning to resign once a new leader is chosen. Crombie hasn't been at Queen's Park since leaving the convention stage.
But she continues to be in conversation. She has recently done multiple fundraisers for our Liberal associations.
The party president says that work will continue until a successor is in place.
We're really excited and energized for this upcoming leadership race.
A chance to attract new talent, new members, but the when of it all hasn't been nailed down.
The membership survey that we've done will help us with some of the decisions around the rules, the process, the fee, the timing, the voting, as well as the convention.
John Fraser's been leading the Liberals in the House.
We punch way above our weight.
But has no interest in the gig on a permanent basis. There's debate amongst Liberals over whether they should look for fresh blood.
Maybe a mayor, maybe somebody from the business world, maybe somebody who's never been in politics but has tons of charisma and game.
Versus a leader who already has a spot in the House opposite Doug Ford.
Is known to media, already has some brand value in politics.
After 3 brutal elections, Reid sees the selection of the next Liberal leader as existential.
They need a leader who can light up the electorate in this next election. If they elect a resume or the strongest organizer or the best known person within the tiny camp that is the Ontario Liberal Party already, they will lose again. And who knows where the party will end up.
Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
The Federal Leaders Debate Commission says it has settled with the Green Party after the party vowed to challenge its removal from the election debates this spring. The commission rescinded an invitation in April for Jonathan Pedneau, who was co-leader of the Greens, to appear at a pair of leaders' debates in Montreal. The commission said the decision was made because the party was not running candidates in the necessary number of ridings. The Greens vowed to take the commission to court over their exclusion. In a brief statement, the commission stated it has settled with the party, but did not provide any further details.
The RCMP are searching for 2 suspects following a deadly shooting on a Saskatchewan First Nation.
All day, Saskatchewan RCMP police officers have been actively searching for the 2 suspects. Officers are, as well, investigating the scene and interviewing witnesses to determine whether the shooting is random or targeted.
Saskatchewan RCMP say officers received a report this morning about a shooting on Big Island, Lake Cree Nation near the Alberta border. Officers found 1 person dead and 3 other people injured. They say the suspects were last seen on an ATV. A search for the pair is ongoing.
Recovery efforts are continuing in Jamaica following Hurricane Melissa, which made landfall as a Category 5 storm at the end of October. Local group Global Medic is packing emergency food kits for those impacted by the hurricane.
They're basically taking, rice and kidney beans and chickpeas and green peas and putting them in buckets, sealing them up. It's going to be about 20 pounds of food. We're going to skid that, put it at aircraft height, and this weekend, Air Canada's given us some cargo space down into Montego Bay, and we're going to put several hundred kits down and then be out next week handing food aid out to families in need.
Global Medic says roughly 360,000 people were in need of food assistance in the immediate aftermath of the storm. The group is also packing emergency hygiene kits for people who have been displaced. At least 45 deaths have been linked to the hurricane in Jamaica. The FBI says millions of dollars worth of motorcycles have been seized by Mexican authorities.
And investigators say they are linked to Canadian alleged drug kingpin Ryan Wedding. CTV's Judy Trin explains.
Dozens of high-powered motorcycles worth an estimated $40 million seized in a joint operation by Mexican authorities, the FBI, the RCMP, and Los Angeles police. Authorities say the collection belongs to Canadian fugitive Ryan Wedding. Each bike contains valuable clues.
Determining the flow of his supply, the flow of, his income, his drug supplies, his narcotics, of how it's being transported.
Earlier this month, the FBI released a new photo of Wedding. It's believed the former Olympic snowboarder is being hidden by the Sinaloa cartel.
Sinaloa has been undergoing a real attack on their power, and their ability to protect Wedding, consequently, is starting to crumble.
Analysts say that after the Trump administration declared drug cartels terrorist organizations, Mexico increased its efforts to ferret out Wedding, prompted by watching the U.S. attack Venezuelan drug boats.
This is something they would not have done before the United States declared that the cartels were terrorist groups, because they didn't have to. But now they feel the threat of the possible attack by the United States.
About 30 associates of Wedding have already been arrested, including Wedding's Toronto lawyer, Deepak Paradkar, accused of counseling suspects to murder an informant. The U.S. wants him extradited. Paradkar was granted bail last week because of health concerns.
Obviously, we've seen in the movies, and it's true, they're going to, take out, execute, kill any individual who could potentially become an FBI informant. If they're under investigation, they're being extradited to the United States, that's a risk to them.
Ryan Wedding has been on the run since 2015. Not only is he considered the biggest cocaine trafficker in Canada, he's also accused of at least 4 murders in Ontario. The FBI is offering $15 million for information that could lead to his arrest and conviction. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
In the Middle East, Israel is suspending more than 24 aid organizations from working in the Gaza Strip as of this Thursday. The Israelis say the humanitarian groups failed to meet new vetting rules intended to prevent Hamas from exploiting international aid. The requirements include sharing information about staff, funding, and operations. Some groups have said the rules are arbitrary and could endanger staff. The Associated Press reports a Canadian nonprofit, Oxfam Quebec, is one of the organizations being deregistered. Today, Canada joined more than 10 other countries issuing a statement reacting to Israel's move. It reads in part, quote, "This would have a severe impact on access to essential services, including healthcare. 1 in 3 healthcare facilities in Gaza will close if international non-governmental organization operations are stopped. INGOs are integral to the humanitarian response, and working with the UN and Palestinian organizations collectively deliver approximately $1 billion in aid across Palestine each year. Any attempt to stem their ability to operate is unacceptable. Without them, it will be impossible to meet all urgent needs at the scale required." The countries are calling on Israel to open crossings and boost the flow of relief supplies. The Israelis say the groups on the list account for less than 1% of the total aid going into Gaza.
The war between Russia and Ukraine was the focus of a virtual meeting today of leaders from Europe and Canada. Prime Minister Carney posted this on X, saying, "I spoke with European leaders this morning on the latest efforts to advance Ukraine's security and recovery. We support the efforts of President Trump and President Zelensky to reach a negotiated settlement, and we stand ready to provide robust security guarantees for a just and lasting peace in Ukraine." Poland's prime minister said peace is on the horizon, but added it is still far from 100% certain.
In Germany, thieves stole millions of dollars worth of property from safety deposit boxes after drilling into a vault. It happened shortly before 4 a.m. yesterday at a bank northwest of Frankfurt. Investigators believe between $11 and $105 million worth of items were taken in the robbery, and about 2,700 customers were affected.
Well, after a moderate warm-up yesterday, we got back to a much more seasonal point throughout the day today, and that trend really does continue as you round out 2025 and step into 2026. If you wanted to go skating tonight, lots of fun down at the different rinks across the city and the GTA, but it is a little cool, so bundle up. That -4 right around 8 p.m. feeling like -12, and we're still contending with snow squalls off and on as we end the year as we head in towards tomorrow. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast. We'll break down New Year's Eve and what you can expect as we step into a brand new year on Thursday. All those details coming up after the break.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400. From your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Welcome back. So one of the things we do sometimes during the first commercial break is we take a look at the screen behind us and we watch Nathan Phillips Square. Everyone's skating. We've been playing Where's Waldo. And take a look. Natalie, tell the people what we saw.
Well, first we saw Spider-Man, but we would like to direct your attention to this fellow with the light-up skates in the top right corner of the rink.
Honestly, I need to know where you got them. I love that they are pink and I think red.
Yeah.
And they were breakdancing on the ice earlier too.
They're kind of hidden now. You can still see there's someone in front. There we go. We got some movement right
We
there.
need to know what's going on there. It's some sort of content creator or
To be fair,
influencer. It'll probably be on TikTok.
I
within
love
the
that
hour.
they're outside and that they're having fun and they're making the most. It's cold. We know that. We've been talking about it all day. I went out to get my jerk chicken earlier today and it was freezing. But the good news is at least you can get out with the right layers or light up skates and go and have a fantastic time. We are holding on to a bit of a wind chill as we head into the rest of the evening, so something to keep in mind as you plan your night tonight and maybe your New Year's Eve tomorrow. But looking outside, again, we're not dealing with much in the way of any active weather currently, but we are still looking at that snow squall watch for us here in the GTA, so something to note as you make your way out and about this evening. It could impede your vision as you're out driving, perhaps. The good news is we do get a bit of a break to start the day tomorrow and into the evening as we head in towards New Year's Eve. But again, we're still under that snow squall watch here in the city. Heavier snow for communities towards Godridge, through Barrie, and along those eastern shorelines of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay, thanks to that lake effect snow machine really kind of pushing snow consistently into those areas. We are going to get it down here in the GTA through the downtown core proper, but not nearly as much. Temperature-wise, it's a little fresh, but we're holding on at a pretty seasonal point right now. We're at -6, feeling like -14, but it is chilly for almost everybody else. Wind chills in, say, Ottawa at -27 right now. As we make our way through the overnight, again, at a fairly seasonal point, we should be around -8 for this time of year, so we're not too bad, and the winds no longer in that wind warning criteria. Into the day tomorrow, the final one of 2025, very seasonal once again for almost everybody. We're not done with the active weather just yet. We'll see that stationary front push its way out. Behind it, another low coming in, set to bring a decent amount of snow in addition to the lake effect snow, right in that kind of sweet spot from mid-afternoon to early evening. Timing it all out, again, we get into the rest of our night tonight. It's not too bad if you are heading out, but if you're traveling, keep in mind we are still dealing with those snow squalls right across central and southern Ontario. We get into the day tomorrow, the heaviest snow kind of beginning mid-afternoon. It starts to push its way out as we head in towards 8 p.m. So keep that in mind if you are traveling for New Year's Eve, really anywhere. If you can take transit, probably a good idea. But it clears out just in time for midnight and all the fireworks, depending on where you're watching from. And then as we head in towards that first full day, it is cool, but it is sunny. Temperature-wise, it is going to be chilly and below seasonal tomorrow night. Right around midnight, it'll feel like -20. It'll be around -12, so layer up and enjoy if you are going to spend time outside. Into Thursday, -7 for that daytime high and low. It is fresh, but I'll take the sunshine. And then as we step in towards those first few days of 2026, we're holding on at a fairly seasonal point. Hopefully this helps you plan. Raheem, Natalie, I'll send it back to you guys.
Thanks, Jess.
Thanks.
A spike in opioid overdoses over the holidays has prompted a warning from Toronto Public Health.
We get the details from our health reporter, Pauline Chan.
Toronto's drug checking service handles some 300 to 400 samples each month, but over the Christmas break, Toronto Public Health saw a worrisome spike in overdoses. They say between December 20th and 28th, 2025, Toronto Paramedic Services responded to 122 calls, which was 35% higher than the average number of calls for comparable periods in the previous 2 years. The number of suspected overdose deaths is comparable to the same period in 2024, under 5, and overdoses are occurring citywide.
122 suspected overdose-related calls over about 9 days. So that's like 14 calls per day.
Executive Director Karen McDonald points to the recent closure of many Ontario safe consumption sites.
that greatly impacted our program. So we did see about a 60% reduction in the number of samples that we were checking.
What the service has noted? Some samples expected to be fentanyl showed higher than usual concentrations of fentanyl or parafluorofentanyl. Many were also contaminated with medetomidine, a veterinary tranquilizer. In fact, 81% of Christmas-time samples contained medetomidine, and unpredictable, high concentrations of fentanyl and contaminants can increase the risk of overdose.
It also greatly complicates overdose response. Because naloxone will work on the opioid that is in someone's body, but it will not work on the veterinary tranquilizer.
Advice for drug users includes avoiding using alone or calling the National Overdose Response Service at 1-888-688-6677 or NORS, carry naloxone with you, and use supervised consumption sites and local drug checking services.
McDonald says the loss of safe consumption sites has led to increased calls for paramedics, and staffing over the holidays has decreased the number of services available for those at highest risk of overdose. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Still to come, taking a look back at the year in provincial politics. We'll have a review of the big stories that came out of Queen's Park in 2025 when we come back.
At Queen's Park, the whirlwind year began with a rare winter election and Doug Ford's PCs securing a third majority government.
It kicked off another dramatic series of sittings at the legislature. Our Queen's Park reporter, Siobhan Morris, sat down with John Moore and Deb Hutton from News Talk 1010 to look back on 2025 in provincial politics.
I'm John Moore. We're taking a look back at 2025 and a look forward to 2026, this time on the provincial scene. With me are Deb Hutton, who spent a considerable amount of time assisting premiers at Queen's Park during her career and is now the host in the afternoons on News Talk 1010, and Siobhan Morris, who also makes her home right now at Queen's Park, but used to be at News Talk 1010, but you are, of course, the Queen's Park Bureau Chief. Let's start with the fact that this was an election year. Deb, I'll start with you because I was often impressed with the government's ability and everybody else's ability to pretend that this was a snap election, even though we saw it coming down the pipe for like 6 months.
It's true. But whenever you make a decision, Premier of the day, to have an early election, it's a risky act. And so I do believe, even though we've been talking about it, Siobhan was reporting on it, I don't think the Premier was ready to pull the trigger, so to speak, until he actually did. I'm sure he had numbers he wanted to meet. He had polls he wanted to make sure he was solid in. And so I do think it actually was an open question for some time. It is a risky move, and it worked out very well for the Premier, obviously returned for a third majority, which isn't an easy task no matter what the situation. And having come through COVID, and having had a pretty ambitious agenda in many ways near the first and second mandates, it was risky.
Well, Siobhan, we were supposed to have a scheduled election date, but the Premier, a lot of people think because an inquiry might eventually come back about some of this government scandals, mostly the Greenbelt, they were worried about the impact of that on an existing government, so they decided, fine, press the reset button, get a new mandate, we're in for 4 more years.
I don't know if that's the reason. I think you definitely have, Doug Ford was faced with an opposition that's been weakened. You know, the Liberals under Bonnie Crombie at that time had not yet found their footing. They'd been done, the PCs had done real damage to that party and to Bonnie Crombie through these relentless ads. And they'd been telegraphing since the spring, really, that this was at least a possibility, talking about expediting, moving booze into more parts of the economy, into corner stores, more grocery stores. And so it seemed a possibility. But, you know, I think knowing that Donald Trump was set to take the White House, I think put that into much sharper focus and made it a greater possibility.
So the result came in, very, very strong majority. And then, of course, Bonnie Crombie eventually, anyway, stepped down as the leader of the Liberals. So let's actually talk about that for a moment. Deb, I mean, it was a very short tenure. I sometimes wonder if Bonnie Crombie regrets the day she ever left her throne in Mississauga.
Well, and who knows? I mean, I know we're going to talk a little bit about 2026, but it's possible she may try and recapture that throne, so to speak. As Siobhan said, she never found her footing. I don't think the party under her leadership was ever the Bonnie Crombie party, and that's really, really important when you're trying to take a party from third to first. It has to be in your own image. The policies have to be something you're comfortable with, and she just, I don't think, ever got there. She was used to running a city all on her own, and that's not the same job as leading a party is, particularly with a caucus that predates you. And she didn't have a seat in the House. And while I know it's very possible to run a party without a seat in the House, it is a really important, I think, it gives you a really important ability to manage your caucus.
There's also the optics, though, of losing in Mississauga, which I think was sort of the capper for Bonnie Crombie. Did not win the election.
Right.
Although arguably, Siobhan, the Liberals had a lot of crowing rights. I mean, with the vagaries of our electoral system, we have the Liberals actually, I think, close to 30% in the last run. And it didn't move the needle at all in terms of seats.
It didn't. I mean, as you said, the Liberals have a lot to celebrate in that they were able to pick up enough seats to actually have party status in the House. So they are a more visible presence at Queen's Park every day. But Bonnie Crombie did not deliver a lot of what she promised when she was running for leadership, and that was to deliver the 905 because she is a known entity in this part of Ontario. And we just didn't see that translate in seats. That was an area that the Progressive Conservatives continued to dominate. And in the far-flung parts of Ontario, she wasn't able to break through, something you really need to do if you have any hope of forming government.
Let's talk about trade and tariffs and the whole Captain Canada thing. And Deb, Canadians, and especially Ontarians, I think, really seemed to groove to the message that Doug Ford had. And it also seemed, I think it was highly coordinated, that he and different levels of government had different approaches so that he could be the tough guy once in a while and then the avuncular Falstaffian friend of the Americans at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to that. Without a doubt, though, too, I think the image of the Premier on trade and tariffs, the image of Bonnie Crombie on trade and tariffs, and the image of Marit Stiles, who we haven't talked about on trade and tariffs, was one that was very clear for Ontarians. And it was Doug Ford going up against Donald Trump. It was Doug Ford fighting for jobs in the economy. So when Siobhan said she wasn't sure if the Greenbelt scandal and some of those investigations was really behind the call of the election, I agree with that. I think it was also that with Donald Trump coming in and his very strong language against the country, the fact that Doug Ford was actually the head of our premiers at the time, they all take turns, and it was his year. He's just left that job in the last few months. I think all those things meant that the election call made sense. And so then you saw him really, really do well on the issue of fighting for Ontario and fighting for Canada.
Then we get to the ad, though, Siobhan, and I still thought it was a brilliant idea. And I'm sure everybody has seen it. Obviously, this is the ad with Ronald Reagan, and it caused Donald Trump to pull the pin on negotiations. All of a sudden, people started saying, what was Doug Ford thinking? I still think that it probably succeeded, but how did people see it at Queen's Park and across the province?
I think from the opposition, you definitely saw anger. It was, the description was, why would you poke the president in the eye? Why would you insert yourself into a conversation that Ontario doesn't have any power, of course, to be negotiating a new trade agreement? The Premier says this is the most successful ad in the history of the world in terms of impressions that it's made, not just in Ontario, Canada, and the United States, but globally. He talks about the phone calls he's been receiving from places in India, Asia, all over the world. Whether or not it's a success, I think is really hard to say. Whether or not this really was the reason that Donald Trump pulled out of negotiations with Canada, who can say? Yeah. But I think that is going to continue to be a thing that sort of sits on the shoulder of the Premier, that he is getting the blame for it.
Okay, and then we get to the great big mammoth thing in the room, which would be skills development program and the alleged scandal, as I continue to call it, because it's as yet unproven. But Deb, this has been a tough one, and I think one of the reasons is whenever you have scandals that seem to follow patterns, then the public becomes more engaged. And this one is about a government that is often too cozy with some of its friends who also do business with us.
So I mean, there is a path that scandals follow. You're absolutely right, John. And I used to always say, back when I was at Queen's Park, they go wider or they go deeper. This one actually hasn't done either of those things. So I would just put a pin in that because it hasn't. It has all stayed with the ministry and with the one program. This is I think the challenge whenever governments get into picking, Mike Harris, my old boss, used to say winners and losers in the private sector. It is one of the problems with corporate welfare. I think the government under the Premier's leadership was very determined in its motives to get money out the door into skills. I believe they believe in that 100%. They just didn't have the process behind it to make sure that the decisions they could stand behind. Doesn't mean there's as much fire as the opposition would like to say there is. There's never been a direct line drawn between this particular minister or his team or the Premier's office and a particular recipient. Lots of fire, for sure. And so I think that's the problem with it. But you're always going to have a little bit of that when you're doling out money to individual companies.
Yeah. And Siobhan, very quickly, I'm old enough to remember Cabinet Minister gets in trouble, Cabinet Minister gets fired. David Piccini did not get fired. He did not resign. He was still in the House.
And he continues to be photographed with the Premier at events recently. And so I don't see any sign that the Premier's confidence is waning in David Piccini. I don't expect him to be moved unless it was something he asked for. And I think even then you have to worry about if you're the Premier saving face, if it looks like you're trying to cover something up, if you were to move him. And the Premier's talked about having continued confidence in that minister.
We've been talking about the year that was in Ontario politics. Deb Hutton and Siobhan Morris with me. I'm John Moore from News Talk 1010.
You're watching CTV News at 6. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Forbes magazine says Beyonce is the latest musician to become a billionaire.
Give me my check. Put some respect on my check. Pay me in equity. Pay me in equity. Watch me reverse out of dick.
Beyonce and her husband Jay-Z are among the 5 musicians the magazine has declared to be billionaires with a B. The other 3 are Taylor Swift, of course, Bruce Springsteen, and Rihanna. Forbes says most of Beyonce's wealth comes from her music catalog and global tours. Well, buying a new car isn't cheap these days, and if you need to take out a loan, it will cost you even more. So making the right choice matters.
Consumer Reports reviews which brands give you the best value for your money, and they have a list of what they say are the most reliable brands. Here's Pat Foran in Consumer Alert.
Every year, Consumer Reports asks its members about any problems they've experienced with their vehicles over the past 12 months. The survey covers areas from minor issues like trim and infotainment systems to serious and costly ones involving the engine, transmission, or electric motors. Problems no one wants to deal with on a new car.
The problem is that once the warranty expires, an unreliable new car starts becoming a real headache, and it costs you time and money.
This year, they analyzed data from about 380,000 vehicles. The top brands include Toyota, Subaru, and Lexus, with Honda and BMW rounding out the top 5.
The same automakers continue to dominate our top brand rankings. And that's because when they're looking to redesign a model, they're not making huge seismic changes. And many models across the line use shared components.
The latest findings show that EVs and plug-in hybrids remain more trouble-prone than traditional gas models, while conventional hybrids, which don't need to be plugged in, continue to stand out for reliability.
Hybrids are more complex than internal combustion models. However, some manufacturers, in particular Toyota, but also Hyundai and Kia, have worked out the bugs. And in some cases, the reliability of the hybrid models is similar to or even better than the regular versions.
Along with better fuel economy, researchers found hybrid versions often deliver a smoother driving experience than traditional gas models. Pat Foran, CTV News.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
Still to come, $80 million is up for grabs in tonight's Lotto Max jackpot. We'll have more on the grand prize when we come back.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
An $80 million jackpot is up for grabs in tonight's Lotto Max draw, with an additional 49 Max Millions prizes to be won.
The $80 million has been up for grabs for the last 18, the last time it was won was at the end of October. So there's been 18 draws since without a big jackpot winner. Now, there's been lots of big winners around the province because of those Max Million prizes. And the last draw we had on Tuesday, we actually had 8 Max Million winners. So that's $1 million. And a few of those tickets were also split with other winners across the country.
Well, let's talk about one of the winners. 72-year-old Suet Man Wong won more than $333,000 after purchasing one of 3 winning Max Millions tickets in the November 25th Lotto Max draw. OLG announced the win earlier this week. Wong says she checked her ticket twice just to make sure she had actually won. Meanwhile, as we mentioned, there is an $80 million jackpot up for grabs in tonight's Lotto Max draw, along with an additional 49 Max Million prizes.
Ooh, well, $80 million would buy you a lot of soup to warm the soul on this cold day, Jess.
I do really love soup. And if I won, it would be endless supplies for everybody.
Thank you so much.
Including the crew behind the camera. You'll need the soup and then some today. It is cold outside. We are very seasonal, but we had a kind of a warmer start to the winter season, so this feels like quite the shock. But we are holding on at a decently seasonal point as we head through the end of today and into the day tomorrow. But that wind still wicked, prompting a ton of snow squalls out there. So keep that in mind if you are traveling anywhere across the GTA or Southern Ontario this evening. Still seeing those snow squall warnings now in place for us here in the city of Toronto as these bursts. They are intense, but they are short. So just keep that in mind. It can impede you when you're driving. -6 feeling like -14. We step into the last day of 2025 with a seasonal daytime high, a chilly night. But you know what? It's going to be fun no matter what you're doing. Maybe get some soup.
That's right. Be sure to join Heather Butts tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zaretta Albin with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and all of us here at CTV News, thank you for watching. Have a good night.